South Korea might have just become the most dangerous dark horse at World Cup 2026. Think about what happened for a second. The only Asian nation to go unbeaten through all 16 World Cup qualifiers arrived in Guadalajara, dominated Czechia with 548 passes and 15 shots, missed chance after chance through Son Heung-min, conceded first from Czechia's very first shot on target, and still found a way to win. Not because they got lucky, but because this South Korea team suddenly looks deeper, more flexible, and more complete than any Korean side we've seen in years. Hwang In-beom delivered a goal and an assist when the game was slipping away. Kang-in controlled the tempo. Substitute Oh Hyeon-gyu came off the bench to score the winner. This is a nation making its 12th World Cup appearance and its 11th consecutive tournament. A nation that shocked Germany in 2018, a nation that eliminated Portugal in 2022, and a nation that arrived at World Cup 2026 as the only AFC team to complete the entire qualifying campaign unbeaten across 16 matches. But after what we witnessed against Czechia, the biggest question may no longer be whether South Korea can reach the knockout stages. The real question is whether the rest of the world has underestimated them. Because the deeper you look at this squad, the unbeaten qualifying campaign, the tactical evolution under Hong Myung-bo, the emergence of a new generation around Son Heung-min, and the resilience they showed after falling behind in Guadalajara, the more one thing becomes impossible to ignore. This South Korea team is far scarier than most people realize. This is exactly why they could be one of the biggest surprises and one of the biggest threats at World Cup 2026.
South Korea didn't just win their opening World Cup match. They answered one of the hardest questions any team faces in tournament football. What happens when the game turns against you? Because for almost an hour in Guadalajara, this looked like a match Korea should have been controlling comfortably. More of the ball, cleaner passing rhythm, better technical players between the lines, sharper attacking patterns. Czechia came with size, structure, and set-piece threat, but in open play, Korea was setting the terms. Hong Myung-bo's side pressed with purpose from the start, not wildly but intelligently. They pushed Czechia towards predictable areas, closed passing lanes in midfield, and tried to force longer balls into zones where Kim Min-jae could compete. The idea was clear: stop Czechia building cleanly, win second balls, then move quickly into the feet of Kang-in, Hwang In-beom, and Son. Kang-in forced the first real save with a long-range effort in the 14th minute, and that moment told you exactly where Korea wanted the match to live, around the edge of Czechia's block, with creators facing forward and runners already moving. The numbers backed the eye test. Korea attempted 548 passes and completed 464. Czechia managed only 340 attempts. Korea finished with 15 shots, 6 on target. Czechia had 6 shots total. That's not a small margin, that's territorial dominance. Korea spent more time in possession, more time in advanced areas, and more time asking questions of Czechia's defensive structure. But control and comfort aren't the same thing. Korea were wasteful when the game was there to be killed. Son had the clearest examples, dragged one chance wide in the first half, then faced Matej Kovar one-on-one early in the second half and was denied by a good save. By the end, he'd taken 6 attempts without scoring. For many teams, that becomes the entire story. Your captain, your biggest name, your most proven finisher misses the chances, the match tightens, the opponent grows in confidence, and suddenly a game you were controlling starts feeling dangerous. Korea didn't let it become that story. For years, the easiest way to describe Korea at major tournaments was through Son. If he scored, Korea had a chance. If he was quiet, the team looked short of a second solution. That wasn't unfair. He's carried an enormous attacking burden across 4 World Cup cycles. But against Czechia, South Korea won without a Son goal.
That matters. It means this team is no longer waiting for one player to decide everything. The player who took responsibility instead was Hwang In-beom. Before the goals, his influence was already visible in the match's rhythm. He received under pressure, recycled possession, changed attack angles, and kept Korea composed when chances were missed. The kind of midfield control that doesn't make highlight reels, but absolutely decides matches. Then came the moment that could have broken them. 59th minute, Kufal launched a long throw into the box, Krejci attacked the near post zone, and Czechia were ahead with their first shot on target. Against the run of the play, against the team that had done more with the ball, Korea had every excuse to panic. They didn't. Hyung slowed the game down without making it passive, kept showing for the ball, kept turning away from pressure, kept pulling Czech midfielders out of position, kept giving Kang-in and the wide players forward angles. Korea didn't chase the equaliser desperately, they built towards it with patience, which, given the circumstances, takes real nerve. 8 minutes later, the reward arrived. Kang-in received in a dangerous pocket and found Hyung. The pass was sharp, but the finish was calmer than the situation had any right to produce. Hyung cut inside, opened the angle, and clipped a composed finish inside the post. 1-1. That goal wasn't just technique, it was temperament. Hyung had read where the pressure was, understood that Czechia were beginning to sit back after scoring, and attacked the exact space that appeared when their midfield hesitated. The kind of moment that separates good midfielders from match-controlling ones. His full performance, 1 goal, 1 assist, 75 passes. In a match where Korea needed someone to manage an emotional swing, Hwang In-beom was the central figure. Every serious tournament team needs that type of player. Spain have midfielders who take the ball when the game turns uncomfortable. Portugal have Bruno Fernandes to turn pressure into incision. Argentina had Messi, not just as a scorer, but as the player who slowed the biggest moments down. For South Korea, Hwang In-beom is growing into that responsibility, not with the same global spotlight, but in the way that matters inside a tournament. Control, timing, decision-making, delivery. Once Korea equalised, the match stopped feeling like Czechia had survived. It started feeling like Korea had found another gear. Czechia still had their moments. Souček thought he'd restored the lead from another set piece, but was flagged offside, which was a timely reminder that Korea's vulnerability against aerial pressure and long throws hadn't disappeared. But Korea had momentum, belief, and options still waiting on the bench. Son hadn't scored, Korea had gone behind, Czechia had threatened from set pieces. Every excuse for nerves was available. Instead, Korea stayed organised, kept playing, and let their midfield take control. And their biggest weapon of the night wasn't even on the pitch yet.
For years, the obvious way to prepare for Korea was straightforward. Reduce Son's space, force him away from goal, make someone else beat you. Against Czechia, that old plan wasn't enough. Son had chances, stayed involved, kept stretching the backline. But the match was decided by a completely different chain of players. Kang-in created the rhythm, Hwang In-beom controlled the middle, and the decisive moment came from the bench. Oh Hyeon-gyu entered in the 69th minute and scored 11 minutes later. That kind of substitution changes how you assess a team entirely. It tells you the manager has usable weapons beyond the starting 11. Hwang In-beom for tempo control and calm decision-making, Hwang Hee-chan for direct running and physical aggression, Lee Jae-sung for pressing intelligence and off-ball discipline, Oh Hyeon-gyu for penalty box presence from the bench, Kim Min-jae for defensive authority at the back. That mix matters because World Cup games don't follow one clean pattern. Some need pace, some need patience, some need midfield control, some need aerial survival. The teams that go furthest aren't usually the ones with the best individual. They're the ones with enough solutions to survive different problems. Korea showed that against Czechia, but they also showed their weakness. Krejci's goal from Kufal's long throw wasn't random. It came from Czechia identifying a clear route, load the near-post zone with size and timing, and executing it. When the match turned vertical and physical, Korea had uncomfortable moments. That's going to be in every scouting report from here. Stronger teams will test that weakness with even more quality, which is exactly why Kim Min-jae's role goes beyond what the scoreline shows. Korea need him as more than just a centre-back. They need him organising the defensive line, managing distances, attacking aerial balls, and giving the rest of the back four confidence when opponents start loading the box. At Bayern, he's operated at the highest level in European football, and that experience allows Hong Myung-bo to consider different defensive structures without losing the core of the backline. Hong's tactical flexibility is becoming interesting to watch. Korea have traditionally worked from a 4-2-3-1 that suits Son, Kang-in, Hwang In-beom, and Lee Jae-sung naturally. But Hong has also experimented with back 3 and back 5 shapes in preparation for stronger or more physical opponents, more compact without the ball, more secure against transitions, more tournament-proof. That won't always look pretty, but pretty doesn't always win World Cup knockout matches.
After going ahead, Korea still had to close the game out. Sounds simple, it isn't. In stoppage time, Czechia created a late chance through Sadalek, and Kim Sung-gyu made the save that secured the points. That moment completed the performance. Korea didn't just find a way back, they finished the job. The broader context makes the result feel even more significant. Korea arrived at this World Cup unbeaten through Asian qualifying, the only AFC nation to complete the entire campaign without defeat across 16 qualifiers. There were criticism at home about draws in games Korea controlled without killing, but tournament football isn't just entertainment, it's durability. An unbeaten qualifying record builds a habit of not losing, and habits carry into tournaments. This is Korea's 12th World Cup and their 11th consecutive tournament, the longest continuous run by any Asian nation. Their peak remains 2002, when they co-hosted with Japan and became the first Asian team to reach a World Cup semi-final. Since then, there have been famous wins: Germany in 2018, Portugal in 2022, but no deep run to match that historic achievement. 2026 feels different though. Experience through Son, Kim Min-jae, Hwang In-beom, and Lee Jae-sung, prime age creativity through Lee Kang-in and Hwang Hee-chan, emerging impact through Oh Hyeon-gyu, a manager building a structure flexible enough for tournament conditions, and now an opening comeback win that gives the entire group campaign a completely different energy. Every contender has flaws. The real question is whether the strengths are strong enough to carry them through the problems. Against Czechia, Korea gave their first answer. Won without a Son goal, changed the match from the bench, survived a physical test, protected the lead late. That's why Korea suddenly look dangerous. Not because they're perfect, because they have options.
South Korea didn't play a perfect match, and that's exactly why the rest of the tournament should be nervous. They controlled possession, but couldn't finish their chances early. They created opportunities, but let Czechia stay in the game longer than they should have. They conceded first despite being the better side for long stretches, which, if you've watched enough football, you know is one of the most demoralizing things that can happen to a team that's been doing everything right. They got dragged into a physical battle, they were tested from set pieces, they had moments of real discomfort. And they still won. That's the hallmark of a dangerous World Cup team, not the ability to dominate every minute, the ability to find solutions when the game stops cooperating. This squad now has multiple creators, multiple scorers, experienced leaders, tactical flexibility, and the quiet confidence of a team that went unbeaten through an entire qualifying campaign. They don't need everything to go right. They need to stay organized, stay patient, and trust that their depth will eventually find a way through. The rest of Group A should be paying very close attention,
because South Korea didn't just win their opening match. They demonstrated resilience, they showed depth, they proved they can control pressure without losing their shape, and they showed they can adapt when a game refuses to follow the plan. Those are the qualities that win knockout matches. Those are the qualities that carry teams deep into tournaments. And if this opening performance is any indication, the 2026 World Cup may have just properly introduced its most dangerous dark horse.